Hello and welcome to Are You Ready? I'm Sarah Peterson. I'm here with Mike Carpenter, president of Asset Guard. How are you today?
It's great being here. Thank you.
It's wonderful to see you, and I always learn so much, and I feel like we always have too much to talk about, so I'm jumping right on in.
Okay.
I want to talk about, the importance of a process and a written plan, and we can't stress it enough. I'd love for you to take us through what this process is like, creating this written plan.
Well, the process begins simply by someone calling in, maybe from this show or to one of the events that I do. I do a lot of workshops and educational events, but when they come in, the first thing we're going to do is just have a conversation. Just like we're having here in the next 30 minutes, we're just going to be asking each other questions, finding out, what's up in our lives, and ultimately we're going to establish, okay, what are your goals? Because most people come in, they don't even have a goal for retirement. They're just glad to not be getting up every day and going into work. So we have a 4-step process. So the phase 1 is a discovery. We're just having a conversation. That might last 30 to 45 minutes. The second phase is what we call our strategy phase, where I'm going to start implementing or showing you some strategies we might go down. Again, focusing on making sure your income is going to last as long as you do. Now, I didn't say your asset, your income. Now, I'm hoping both, but income is key. All right. And then the third phase is what we call implementation phase, where we're actually start putting the plan in motion. And then the fourth stage, which is an ongoing stage, where we actually do ongoing monitoring with our clients on a regular basis, year in and year out. And it all involves having a plan like the GPS binder that we give everyone, A to Z. It covers everything, and that's what we maintain throughout your life.
Well, I want to get back to year in and year out, because this is not something a set it and forget it kind of plan. This is something that we need to create, review, and revise, right? I mean, it needs to be fluid.
Well, see, when we go into work every day, we work Monday through Friday. Some people have different schedules, but ultimately, what are you going to get at the end of that week? You're going to get a paycheck. Well, when you retire, you now still have to pay the bills. That paycheck's going to come in the form of Social Security, pension if you're fortunate, and your IRA or 401k, whatever, however you've saved for retirement. And those income goals, there's 3 things. One, it's got to be predictable. You got to know it's coming in. The second thing, it's got to last you, longevity. It's got to last you as long as you're going to live. I mean, my oldest client was 100 years old when she passed away. I have many clients that are in their 90s. Statistically, if you're 65 and married, one of you is going to live into the 90s. And the third thing is efficiency. How many of your assets need to be earmarked just for income? And there's just like there's different tax buckets, there's different buckets for your assets. Now, the majority of people listening to us today, their primary asset, and I'm talking about 90% or more of the assets they have, are in qualified funds, either 401k or an IRA or 403b or some form of qualified funds. So every dollar they take out of that is going to be taxable. And so as a part of the whole process, we're hoping we can make it tax-free, but it's got to last. No matter how we do it, it's got to last as long as you do.
Without having a crystal ball and knowing how long we're going to live, how do we know we're not going to outlive our money?
Well, years ago, and it still is true today, they have what's called safe income withdrawal rates. In the 80s, it was 6%. So an advisor said, if we just draw 6% a year off your IRA or your other retirement funds, we'll be okay. Then in the 90s, it went down to 5%. Then in the 2000s, it was 4%. 2010 with 3%. Now Morningstar is considering the safe withdrawal rate to be 2.5%. So what they're telling you, imagine if you had $1 million and an organization like Morningstar says you can only safely withdraw $25,000 a year without running out of money. That's not good in my playbook.
Yeah.
So, we use strategies to make sure that you can pull out more than 2.5% without running out of money.
It's really insane when you look at it in that regard, how over the decades, I mean, we didn't realize that we were sort of spoiled for a while there. We're getting into a point where we really need to face ourselves in the mirror.
I know we're going to be talking about inflation here shortly, later on this segment, maybe the next segment, but it's becoming a real problem. And people are having to dig deeper and deeper in their pocket. And we don't want anyone reducing their lifestyle. Recently, I had a dentist come in my office, and he was making pretty decent money. He wanted to retire in 9 years. He had a house in Winston. He had a house at the beach. And he said, his statement was, "We do not want to reduce our lifestyle at all for any reason." And I not only was able to show him how we're not going to reduce it, but by showing him a plan that's going to create completely tax-free income. So he's going to have as much income as he's receiving right now, but it's going to be tax-free. So that's going to enable him to have the lifestyle that they want to have for the rest of their life.
And all that took was, I mean, he's sort of entering that retirement red zone. He's a little bit outside of it, but just getting ahead of it and creating that plan has avoided all those missteps.
Yeah, and he did not have a plan prior to coming in. He had very good assets. He had done very well for himself, but now we had to put a plan in place. And we met actually 2 or 3 times before we moved forward with anything, but that's the type, I mean, I see people on the whole gamut of income or asset scale.
Well, I want to make sure everybody out there has that phone number. It's 844-546-1009. What we're offering today is what we are talking about, this written plan that is created essentially just for you, and this is only for the viewers of this show. So it's really exciting.
Well, as part of the planning process, one of the most important beginning steps is the retirement planning guide. Every person that comes in is going to get this. They're going to walk out of my office physically with this. It's no charge whatsoever, and they can fill it out at their leisure. They can bring it back in with them when we make the second appointment, and they have this. It's there, and less than 10% of Americans have this.
Well, I think it's invaluable, and it's other advisors charge thousands of dollars or more. This is just for the viewers of this show. Please stay with us. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We're going to come back and talk more about tax-free ways to plan your income in retirement.
There's a lot that goes into making a good salad. You need patience and the right ingredients, but you also have to take time to taste it along the way to make sure you're heading in the right direction. When I was a kid, I remember seeing my dad work 3 jobs to provide for me and the rest of my family. I watched my dad closely. I learned so much about business and how to work hard from him. All of that only grew once he started the family business in 1975. It was around that time that my mom started getting sick. I might have learned business from my dad, but it was my mom who really taught me how to deal with people, how to treat them, and how to love them well. It was in watching her provide and care for others, even in the midst of her failing health, that shaped a lot of who I am today. Mom passed away in 1988, and it was just a few years after that I started my journey into the financial world by launching Asset Guard. I wanted to be different. I wanted to bring everything I had learned from my mom and dad into this company. I wanted to add a personal touch, an intentional effort to build relationships with our clients in an increasingly distant and digital world. This isn't just something I have been able to accomplish with my clients over the years, but my son and daughter have also come alongside me to help provide for our growing financial family. It's truly been a blessing being able to be so involved in our clients' lives. I've made so many new friends and lasting relationships, and have even sat at deathbeds of a few of them who have passed away. It takes patience to build a stable financial future. You also need to make sure you have the right ingredients to make your money last. But the most important part about your finances are the people that they help sustain. We really care about those people, and we want to do whatever we can to help them. Making a good salad can be an amazing thing, but it means nothing if you have no one to enjoy it with.
Hello and welcome back to Are You Ready? I'm Sarah Peterson here with Mike Carpenter of Asset Guard. I know before the break we were talking about taxes, but I really do want to make sure I don't avoid the big elephant in the room, which is Social Security, because this is something that is a big source of income for a lot of people.
So everyone was happy this year that's receiving Social Security. They've got a 5.9% increase this year. And then next year, it's anticipated being 8%. But there are a lot of problems with Social Security. When it was first started, there was over 30 people paying into Social Security for every one person pulling out. Now we're down to almost 3.3 people paying in for every one person pulling out, and very soon it's going to be 2 to 1. It's unsustainable. And so it's created a lot of problems, and ultimately that major problem is going to happen right now, according to the books, is 2035, Social Security will be reduced. And if you don't have a plan in place to protect yourself or prepare for that, because you can't avoid it. If it's in law, and I don't know that they can really fix it. They can't just throw money at it, and they can't have more people paying into it. They haven't raised payroll taxes since 1990. So if you wake up January 1 and receive your check, and everyone receives their checks on a Wednesday, and you receive your check on that Wednesday, and it went down 20%, what are you going to do? And what if we're in a high inflationary cycle at that? So you're getting hit hard on inflation, your Social Security just went down, and oh, by the way, because you didn't do the planning, taxes are hitting you hard too. So that trifecta can really hurt.
Well, what are some strategies that we can do to mitigate some of this disaster?
Well, one of them, if you're fortunate enough to come in to me and you haven't started your Social Security, we can sit down and our software will actually tell you mathematically, based on all of your other situations as far as your expenses and your assets, it will tell you when is the safest time, when is the maximum time to start your Social Security. And I've actually had some people say, well, I'm going to wait till 67. And they were surprised when mathematically they said, hey, it's better to start at 62. Now, most times when the report comes in, it says them to delay it a little bit longer. But the way that you prepare for that reduction, if, for example, my dad, he started his Social Security at 62, and he gets roughly $1,500 a month. Had he waited till 70, he'd be getting almost $2,700 a month. So when you think about this reduction, and you know it's going to happen, hey, by delaying it, if you were getting $2,700 and that was reduced by 20%, that's a lot better than if you started at 62 and you're having $1,500 reduced by 20%. These are going to happen. The storm is there. Let's prepare for it now.
Well, talk to me about the widow's penalty. What is that?
So a common question, Mike, what do I get to keep if one of us passes away? And basically, whoever is the survivor gets to get the largest of the two Social Securities. Now they make it kind of convoluted, they combine them, but ultimately it's the larger wage earner, that's the income that's kept. So if you're a married couple and you got the income coming in from Social Security, pension, and your IRA withdrawals to maintain a certain lifestyle, and you now have $1,000 that's leaving that, and you're surviving, what are you going to do? I mean, you haven't eliminated $1,000 worth of expenses. Mm-hmm. The spouse that passed away didn't eat $1,000 worth of food. I mean, so you may have reduced it by 20%, so you're going to have to go dig a little bit deeper into your IRA to make ends meet.
I get it. And there are so many tactics that nobody is aware of until like we spoke about this on a previous show, but Social Security, they're not paid to give you advice. And so if you're trying to call them and find out what's the best thing for me, you're not going to get those answers.
They're not going to tell you. And as I shared in a previous show, they're not going to say, hey, they're not going to ask you, are you married? Have you been married before? Have you thought about, drawing money off of a spouse's benefit? There's all sorts of things that have got to be considered. But one of the things that I find very often, and there's many self-employed people out there, and they think, they're working hard and this is their hard-earned money, and they don't want to pay it to Uncle Sam. Well, so they'll get their accountant to zero out their income for that year. And they feel great pride in doing that. And then one day they wake up 35 years later, because Social Security is based on 35 years of your top earning years. And if you were self-employed and you zeroed out your income and that's what you reported, guess what your Social Security is going to be? Zero. Now, if your spouse worked, you'll have a spousal benefit. But a lot of times that self-employed person is the primary wage earner, and it's a shock. I mean, it's a shock to them because you can't go undo it. It's a
Can't go back and say, actually, I made some money. I did.
Yeah, yep.
You know what? I'm sure that's a mistake many people have made, and it's so good to have someone on your side advising you against that before you make that misstep. Well, I want to make sure I give that phone number, 844-546-1009. What we're talking about today is the importance of creating this written plan, which is what we are offering to the viewers for taking the time to sit with us today. And I want you to explain a little bit about what this process is.
So again, as part of the process, when you come in, when you make that phone call today, they'll take a little bit of information, and then one of our staff, usually Sherry, will give you a call to confirm that you know where our office is. And when you come in, you're going to walk out with this planning guide. Again, I've mentioned less than 10% of Americans have it, and you can be a part of that 10%. And if for some reason you didn't decide to move forward with me, which most people do decide to go with me, then you'll have this planning as a part of your estate planning.
Well, please have patience because the phone lines get very, very busy, but that number again is 844-546-1009. We'll take a quick commercial break. We got to get to a lot of issues, Social Security, taxes. There's just so much to cover, so please do stay with us.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Hello and welcome back to Are You Ready? I'm Sarah Peterson here with Mike Carpenter of Asset Guard. And before break, we were talking about Social Security. I want to make sure I cover a couple of other topics. Let's talk about minor children. If you've got grandchildren living with you, there's a lot of different scenarios now as people, this has been a very unpredictable couple of years, right? So a lot of change.
It is, and I've actually had several sets of clients late in their 60s. One was 70 years old. I remember getting the call from him and saying, hey, Mike, do you have any car seats? And I said, why? I mean, you and your wife, I know you go. The bottom line is she had gotten a call, and children that she had, a daughter from a previous marriage, for whatever reason I won't get into, could not take care of the 4 kids. So they immediately had to drive down and get a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a set of infant twins to come live with them at 70 years old. Now, the reason we're bringing this up, there are some benefits that children can get or grandchildren can get if you're drawing benefits. And so everyone's different. I won't go into the details.
But in order to get those benefits, you would have to do what?
Well, you have to make sure you're abiding by the Social Security rules, and a lot of times those children have to be under your complete control. No one else is ever going to be taking care of them, and I've helped some clients work through those things.
Not that that's an ideal situation, but I have 4 kids, and I don't think my parents could handle that. So kudos to them for taking on that responsibility.
And again, it's even a planning process for my child's daughter, who I've never met. I mean, it should have really been a part of her plan. Now, it's a very sad situation that happened, but nonetheless, you know, we can't even imagine planning that process, but having gone through that, and that's why my show is Are You Ready? It's about all my life experiences. So what happens when those grandchildren come in? Do you have the assets to take care of them for the next 10, 15, 20 years? Because they now are your responsibility. So we got to make sure we're pulling income from wherever we can.
Well, on that same topic, you know, COVID has really done a number on a lot of people's priorities, right? So people are working longer and or working, you know, shorter, and we've made a lot of changes. What about the people who want to continue working and start drawing Social Security?
So anyone can start drawing Social Security at 62. You got to understand that when you draw your Social Security before your full retirement year, I was born in 1959, so my full benefit would be 66 and 10 months. So if I started, you know, drawing Social Security before that and earning income, you know, it's right around $18,000 some change. It changes every year. If you earn more than that, then you can start losing $1 for every $2 of Social Security benefits. So, you know, I do the analysis with somebody because, you know, a lot of times people will work part-time and they're only making like $1,500 a month, and that's fine. They won't lose any of their Social Security benefits. But I've had to advise some people that had started before they came in, hey, we need to stop this because you're going to lose your benefits.
Well, I want to quickly walk the viewers through the process of what this is like. I mean, if you're sitting on the sofa right now thinking, you know, I've never had these types of conversations with my financial advisor, or I don't have one and I really don't have a plan and I'm sort of 5 to 10 years out from retiring, and these are things that they need to start thinking about. Where do we begin in this process?
Well, Sherry will call you and tell you what to bring in when you come in. Generally statements, insurance policies, IRA statements. If you have your Social Security report, if not, I can help you get the number, because knowing the facts, I need to know how you're spending your money, basically your budget, how much you have, and how much income sources. And when I know those 3 different pieces of the puzzle, then I can pretty much tell you exactly how your retirement's going to be. And I love it because in many cases, I literally will pick up the phone and say, you can call your boss right now and say, you have enough money to retire right now, you don't need them at all in your life. But other people I had to say, okay, based on everything you've told me, you might have to work an extra year or 2, but here's our target date. And usually I'll try to make it at least on their birthday of that particular year, or maybe the middle of November to retire, so they can truly be thankful at Thanksgiving and just enjoy the rest of the holiday season.
And that's a beautiful thing, to be able to tell someone, hey, you can actually just pick up that phone right now and give your boss a call.
I love doing it, but it's so simple. It really, people fear it. I don't charge for it. You know, if I could charge for it and have more people come in, I'm not going to do that. I want the process to be simple and stress-free.
Well, and one of the things that I really appreciate about you, and I think that makes you very unique, is that you see a greater purpose in all of this. You're not really just looking at people for the amount of money that they have and this and that. You're seeing what are your hopes and dreams, and let's try to take some of that fear and anxiety out of this part of the process, because we have it in so many areas of our life as it is.
Well, Darlene, who is our retirement coach, she's not with me today, but she is a certified life coach. So after we've done all the financial stuff, she's going to help you establish your retirement goals, your dreams, everything you want to do. And it's her job, sometime between now and whenever, to make sure that you've lived a life of no regrets. We don't want you lying on your ultimate deathbed saying, I wish I would have done this, I wish, let's make those wishes happen right now.
Well, I think it's important to say that, all we've talked a lot today about Social Security and sources of income, and all these things are all important. But right now, as somebody's sitting at home and they have a pen and paper, maybe it's a good idea to write down some things what do you want to do? How do you see yourself? Because it's not just about the numbers. It's about your goals and your dreams. And what have you worked so hard? What have you saved so hard for? How do you see this all going?
And that's a good thing to do. I mean, before you come in, you just literally, once you gather all your information, you got it in the folder ready to bring to me, write down, what do you want to do? It might be like one of the clients came up to me after listening to Darlene. She said, hey, I decided to take up the violin. I wanted to do that my whole life. So she's taking it up. Everyone has different dreams and aspirations, but write them down. Write a whole list. Create your bucket list, because we want to help fill those buckets.
I love it, and I'm all about a list. If I have a list and a plan, I feel like I can get it all done. That phone number is 844-546-1009. This is for the viewers of this show only, so please do have patience as the phone lines get very busy. But if you have a financial advisor that you're working with, or perhaps you don't, this can be a second opinion for you to find out if, in fact, you're on the right road to where you want to get to in your retirement.
Yep. Our basic question, are you ready? We want to help you be ready.
I love it. Are you ready? Do you know the answer to that? Only you do, but all you need to do is pick up the phone, and that is literally the only risk, because this is just a conversation. It's not a commitment, and I love how we just take the anxiety out of this planning process.
Yes.
You probably don't have a written financial plan, and if you don't, now is a good time to call. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us, as always, and thank you for joining us on your road to retirement. We hope to see you on the next show.